Hi, and welcome, everybody. Welcome, Exiters, to the Seven Exits podcast, where we talk about all things growth, empowerment, and emotional clarity. I am Stephanie Singleton, your host, and I'm here with, of course, the fantastic Dr. Rosina Bakari, our favorite empowerment psychologist. Dr. Bakari, how you doing today?
I am good and empowered as I can be.
All right. This is a good thing. And this is what you out here spreading, right? Empowerment and emotional clarity and growth. And today, what Dr. Rosina Bakari is going to be talking about today is when choosing yourself lets other people down. How to honor your growth without apologizing for it. So before we get started, you don't want anybody to miss anything. Please get on the horn. Call your friends, let them know we on, give us that thumbs up because we're going to jump right into this one. Dr. Bakari, I'm so glad that you're doing it because this is a big one, right? For a lot of people, when we're on the path of growth, when we're on the path of changing our lives, we think so many people are going to be happy for us and, encourage that. And that's not always the case because most people struggle taking risks that will lead to someone else's disappointment. So, this episode is about giving yourself permission to disrupt those people's expectations. So, Dr. McCartney, I'm just going to ask you this question. When we're on our growth path and we see people starting to express some type of disappointment with the way that we're moving in the world now as opposed to how we were, why do we feel like a failure when we're disappointing those people, or we feel like we're disappointing those people? What is that about?
Well, we do love people, and part of love is this attempt to show up for people in a way that supports them, and giving people time and offering people favors are, in essence, a love language, right? And when we take that away, not only does the person who's used to receiving from us feel some sense of disappointment, oftentimes we feel a sense of disappointment too. We feel entrapped by our own definitions of what love should look like or what love is supposed to look like. And so we have to give ourselves permission to change and evolve and shift what we thought or how we thought we were obligated to show up in love.
One, right? That's a big one, right? Because most of the time we think that love has to be about loyalty, right? No matter what, right? Even if that means that it impedes our own personal progress and development. So what are these myths of obligation and loyalty that keep us stuck?
So the obligation is that love is all those things that you mentioned. Our responsibility, though, is that we love ourselves first. And when we love ourselves first, then that conflict dissolves because we clearly understand that we have a responsibility first to ourselves to pour from a cup that is running over. So people get what's running over because we give so much to ourselves. And when people receive from our overflow, that's much better than them receiving the drops that are left from us trying to pour from an empty cup. And so we have to really understand that. And so what happens sometimes is in the midst of this growth, our cup isn't full at all. We've been operating trying to pour from an empty cup. And so as we grow, and this is a change, it's a matter of time, because if we've been pouring from an empty cup, it takes a while for our cup to start to get full so that people can appreciate our overflow. So one is that we have to give it time and keep pouring into ourselves so the overflow can happen, not go back to pouring once our cup gets half full, because then it's going to get empty again. So that's what we call trusting the process. Trust the process.
So what then is the difference between guilt and growth, because some people still feel guilty that they're not still having the same relationship on the same level, at the same types of relationships that they used to have. They're not taking the same treatment that they used to, put up with from people, and people still feel guilty about that, right? And they still feel some type of guilt. So what is that about, and what is the difference between guilt and growth? Are you still, can you say that you're really still growing if you're feeling guilty about your own empowerment?
Well, I will remind people, feelings are not facts. And yes, it is true that you can feel guilty when you do the right thing. And so the more we get in tune to our authentic self and our authentic needs, then we start to make better decisions. That's called pouring into our cup until we eventually get the overflow. That takes some time. And so in that process of our journey, things shift. We must remember that one thing is true: two things cannot occupy the same space at the same time. We cannot be here and there. We can't be. And so as we're moving from here to there are some things that happen in that transition. Most of those things are going to be positive, but some of those things are going to feel foreign, unnatural, outside of our tendencies. And because it's foreign to us, we often judge it as wrong, and that's when the guilt comes in. So I have said before and in other videos, understanding the difference between what's uncomfortable, what's unsafe, and what's undesirable are three different things. And in our growth, we begin to distinguish between those three things, and don't jump to the conclusion that just because something is uncomfortable or unfamiliar does not mean that it is also wrong. And so we start to piece together these things. Again, these are all pieces that go into our cup that we're trying to get to the overflow. If we don't pause to understand what's happening, then guilt starts to take over. So it's okay for guilt. Whatever emotions are there, are there. It's okay to have the emotion. What gets us in trouble is when we follow the emotion instead of allowing the emotion to follow our right actions. We turn around and start following the emotion back to our past actions. You're muted.
So I'm hearing that we should kind of expect this to be uncomfortable, right? And that if guilt does arise, that's kind of part of the process. Am I right about that? Or
it can be. I don't like to expect negativity. So I don't say expect it. I'm just saying if it shows up, understand it. So in the same way that we shouldn't expect it to be all rosy, we shouldn't expect it to be rocky either. Just trust the process, that what's showing up is showing up as part of the healing process. And we can constantly make decisions based on what is in the well, right? Where are we moving to next? Don't have expectations. If we don't have expectations that this is going to be easy, then we could accept what comes up. If we don't have expectations of that this is going to be so difficult, then we don't scare ourselves out of it. Just align yourself with the truth of what your needs are and what is your authentic self and what it is that you're growing into. Think alignment, not expectations.
Oh, thank you for that clarification. So you said there are some questions that we need to ask ourselves, right? What makes this change necessary, right? And one of the questions you said is, am I honoring my values or managing someone else's expectations? Talk about that a bit.
Right. And so we're looking for the truth of what we are, who we're trying to be, what aligns with what we claim ourselves to be, the characteristics, the traits. What are our desires? Where are we trying to get to? And I don't mean get to as in a destination, but Who are we trying to be? And then what's the decision on the table right now? Or what's the behavior that what's the behavior that may be disappointing people right now? What is that? And how does that align? First, check in with, are you true to yourself? Right? And then to the degree that you are being true to yourself, you can ask yourself questions like, is there room to compromise on the way that I'm showing up in this relationship or the way that I'm showing up toward this person? Sometimes there is room to revise and compromise. Sometimes there's room. And then sometimes there isn't. But you get to decide that, and decide that based on what your desires are, where you're going, what your authentic self is. Do that based on your cup and how much is in your cup and how much you're filling your cup. Do it based on you. Don't do it to rescue someone else.
Whoa, that's something right there. Don't do it to rescue someone else. Oh my goodness, a lot of people needed to hear that. Yeah, yes, I am your queen. Okay. And the second question that you said is to ask ourselves is it necessary, right, to remain the same to preserve the peace?
Right. So remember that you're on a journey. Somehow you have found this path, this journey to becoming a better you. Right? You're not on this, hopefully, we're not talking about, how many likes and subscribers you're going to get. That's something else. We're talking about becoming the best you that you can be. You have found this path. You have taken this journey. If you really honor the work, you will honor the work not only for yourself, but you will honor the work for others. And as long as you are rescuing others, you're not honoring the work. You're not honoring the work. You have to allow people an opportunity to find the path in the same way that you did. They found the path. And if you're so busy rescuing them, they cannot find the path. They will never find the path because only you're the path. And so if we're true to the path of transformation, authenticity, becoming our best self, living our best life, making our best choices, if that is the path we on, we must honor it for ourselves and for others.
And the third question we should ask ourselves, you say, is who benefits most when I don't change?
Right. So if you're feeling like you should not change, stay the way that you are, keep the relationship just as it is, stay on this job, don't move forward, then who's benefiting and what is the benefit? Is the benefit that you get to live without fear? Is the benefit that you then don't worry about where this person is going because they're going to be there? Who benefits and how do you benefit? What's the benefit for you? And what is the benefit for the other people involved? What is the benefit? The benefit is always some sort of comfort. But again, going back to, if we are trusting the process, comfort should not be the goal. Growth is the goal.
That's a hard one. Comfort should not be the goal. Okay. Yeah, this is not a comfortable, easy process. Right.
If it were, everybody would do it.
Yeah, that's the truth. That is the truth. So, okay, so living the new us, right? Now we're moving towards, our authentic selves. We're becoming more empowered. And how do we hold our decisions with confidence, right? Because now we're making different decisions and different moves. So how do we do that with confidence?
Sometimes the confidence may be low. Sometimes the confidence may be high. Again, we release the expectations. Our job is the input, not the outcome. Sometimes we get really nervous when we don't get the exact outcome at the exact time. And so we must get used to making decisions that are based on a long run, not that's going to bring us the immediate comfort that we so desire. All of us want that immediate comfort, right? And so it's not time to judge. So I call you and you don't call me right back. Now I'm nervous, but it's not time to judge. I remember one time that I was when I was had my first pregnancy with my first child. I was in severe pain, and the doctor told me that I was going to be in this pain for 10 days until the procedure they had done take effect. And so at 8 days, I was in as much pain as I was when the doctor saw me on day one. And I literally was almost about to give up. I literally was going to tell the doctor, I had a discussion with my husband that I may have to terminate this child, right? Because the pain was that unbearable. And the doctor came in and the doctor said, "What did I tell you?" He said, "Did I tell you 8 days?" And he was not a nice doctor. "Did I tell you 8 days?" This is kind of how I heard it, at least in my pain. He said, "I didn't tell you 8 days. I told you 10 days. And sure enough, on day 10, the pain went away. I mean, the medication was taking effect with all that stuff, and the pain went away. And I found my level of comfort. And so we don't, and at least I had a date, right? 10 days, not 8 days or not 4 days. We don't have the days, right? But oftentimes we put in something, we put in the medicine, we take the medicine and we want to see some immediate effect, right? That's often what I call the microwave process. We expect everything to work like a microwave. We put it in, we push a button, and then 30 seconds later, we get something that we can eat. And so we have to stop judging something based on when we did it or how fast we did it. We have to allow growth to be a process, and we have to accept our decision, have confidence in our decision, which isn't necessarily always tied to the outcome, because we don't always see the ultimate outcome. We can't see that far. There was no way for me to trust what was going to happen on day 10, just 2 days later, when the previous 8 days had been so horrifically painful. That's hard to imagine. And many of us go through life that way. We've had so many negative consequences that we lose sight of our vision, and we start wanting things to happen sooner and sooner. And we must get used to obeying the process.
Thank you. That was a real intense story. Yeah, but that's just so true. Like you said, you knew 10 days. We don't know. It's like we just have to trust. And that's that same thing when we talked about on the previous podcast about trusting your gut, right? Learning how to trust your gut again. Please check out that video as well here on YouTube. So one thing you said is that when we learn to disappoint others, we might finally stop disappointing ourselves. I really need you to dig into that. Yeah.
Yes. So we're often accustomed to making decisions, even decisions about ourselves and about our lives, that align with other people's desires, happiness, and joy. Some of us have been trained that way in one sense or another. We may have grown up that way. We may have gotten some sort of success that way. And so we get used to pleasing others. And oftentimes we start to please others to the degree that we begin to shrink ourselves to fit into other people's boxes and expectations and desires. And so when we start making decisions based on who we are and our own comfort, yes, it's going to disappoint others. And for many of us, the only way we're going to find our own joy is when we finally give ourselves permission to disappoint others. Now, here's the funny thing about that. What we all seek, this unconditional love, can only be found when we allow ourselves to disappoint others. So the irony is that we all want unconditional love, and yet at the same time, we keep trying to earn it. So you can't have unconditional love and you're fast forward trying to earn it, trying to earn it, trying to earn it. And then we get disappointed because it doesn't show up in the way that we expect it to. The only way that you will know that you have unconditional love is if you lay out the conditions. I'm not going to do this way. I'm not going to be here in that time. I'm not going to offer you that and allow you to love me anyway. That's how that works.
Oh, you know, that reminds me of something that you said, a quote of yours, when you said that we are not here to live a version of our life that makes everyone else comfortable.
That's right. Absolutely. We owe it to ourselves to become the best that we can be inside. Again, I'm not talking about materialism. I'm talking about, we owe it to ourselves to be, what would it take to understand what you need to wake up in the morning with pure joy? I know so many people that hate waking up in the morning. They hate because what they had before them, the life that they have designed, is not one that they live through with joy. What would it mean for you to work through enough of your stuff, enough of your people pleasing, enough of your discomfort in the world, and wake up with pure joy because you are living a life that you are responsible for designing?
So I think, just to be clear to people out there, it's like, you're not talking about we need to be cruel, or we need to be nasty or neglectful of people, or just dismiss people. You're not talking about that.
It may feel that way. It may feel that way, uncomfortable or unsafe, that you're not used to it. It may feel that way. But here's the thing that when we talk about trusting the process, now I keep saying it, fill your cup and feed people from the overflow. When the overflow is nourishment, that's nourishment. There is no way that your cup could be flowing over and people partake from you from your overflow. Overflow is beauty. Overflow is nourishment. Overflow is your glow. And you can only get there if you are filling your cup. There's no cruelty in overflow. Now, if you're not filling your cup, you're just spinning it around and moving it around, then yeah, that's cruel. You're playing catch me if you can. Maybe I'm gonna pour here, but that's a whole different game. That's a whole different game. So that's why it takes a while. This is about learning how to live through your essence, because you're always pouring in, and what you're pouring in your cup, it cannot be cruel unless you are pouring cruelty into your own cup. Now that doesn't make sense to me. Right? That's why we want you to fill your cup. You fill your cup, cruelty cannot come out unless that's what you're feeling in yourself. Now that's a whole different podcast.
Yeah, that's a whole different podcast. So, you know, what I'm thinking too is that it's cruel to ourselves if we don't fill our cup, and cruel to ourselves if we are given from a cup that's half full and half. But a lot of us have been conditioned to be, you know, the sacrifice. Oh, you got to make sacrifices. You know, a lot of us have been conditioned to be martyrs, really, right? So,
right,
yeah,
right,
yeah.
right. And when you learn how to fill your cup, you can only then you fill it with beauty and integrity and honesty. Because honestly, cruelty don't go to the top. It seeps out the bottom of your cup, and your cup will never be full. Right. So when we talk about filling your cup, those are the only things that really can fill your cup. And so there are lessons learned in how to fill your cup. They're lessons. It's a life journey.
Oh, Dr. Bakari, as usual, this has been amazing, very helpful, very informative. Just a lot to really sit and really contemplate and then put into action, right? Later, for just thinking about it, it's like you got to put that stuff into action. Okay, everybody.
Everybody.
Yeah, I'm part of everybody.
It's a journey. It's a journey. It's just a matter of where you are on a journey. Wherever you are on this journey is okay. What we absolutely cannot do is beat ourselves up about it, because that's not pouring into our cup. Mm.
Mm, mm. Well, yes, thank you, Dr. McCarty, for all of you out here. If you haven't done it yet, please give us that thumbs up, share this video, and make sure to tune in next time, where we're going to be talking about how to know if you have abandonment issues and how you manage that. And yeah, I think that's going to speak to a lot of us. So thank you, Dr. McCarty. Any parting words that you want to give us before we go?
I'm just always glad to see people. Keep watching, keep listening, keep sharing.